In the misty green hills of Central Africa, there lived a gentle family of mountain gorillas. They were known by the rangers as Kira, the calm and loving mother, and Baku, the powerful father whose chest could echo through the forest like thunder. Between them was their little son, Tano, playful, curious, and full of life. Each day, Kira would hold her baby close as the morning sun filtered through the canopy. Baku would watch from a distance, proud and protective. The family was peaceful, their world small but complete. No danger, no fear, only love and the quiet rhythm of nature. But one afternoon, as the skies darkened without warning, the peace of the forest began to change. Thick clouds gathered overhead, and a cold wind swept down the mountain slopes. The sound of thunder rolled across the hills. Baku lifted his head. He felt it before it came, a deep vibration in the earth, the smell of wet soil rising sharply. Kira moved to higher ground, holding Tano tightly against her chest. But no one could have predicted what would happen next. From above, a wall of brown, roaring water suddenly burst through the narrow valley. A flash flood, fierce and wild, charged down the slope. It tore through trees, mud, and branches with terrifying force. Kira tried to climb, gripping the wet roots, her heart pounding, but the mud gave way beneath her feet. In one terrible instant, her grip slipped. She screamed as her baby was ripped from her arms and swallowed by the flood. Her cry echoed through the jungle, a sound of pure agony, a mother's soul breaking in half. Baku roared, a deep, heart-shaking roar that silenced every bird. Without a moment's hesitation, he plunged into the raging torrent. It was not courage that drove him, but love. A love so powerful it defied reason. The water was thick with mud and broken branches. Baku fought against it with all his might. His huge arms tore through the current. Every movement was pain, every breath was a battle, but he kept going. He could not stop. Finally, through the churning brown waves, he found a small, dark shape caught between two rocks. It was Tano, lifeless. Baku lifted the tiny body and pulled himself toward the bank. He was shaking, gasping for air. His strength was almost gone. But somehow, he reached a small patch of green grass, rising like an island in the flood. He laid his son down gently. Then he collapsed beside him. Kira stumbled out of the trees, mud covering her fur, her eyes wide with disbelief. She fell to her knees beside her child. Her trembling hands touched the still little body. There was no sound, no breath. The mother began to rock him, slowly, helplessly, as if she could sing life back into him. Her soft cries blended with the rain. Baku pounded the ground with his fists. The sound was deep and terrible, not anger but sorrow. The great silverback, ruler of his world, was powerless before this tiny, silent tragedy. At that same moment, a figure emerged from the jungle edge. Ranger Elias. He had been checking the flooded paths when he saw them. He froze. The sight before him was something no man could forget. The mother's silent mourning. The father's grief shaking the ground. Elias's heart tightened. He knew he was standing before the purest form of love and loss that nature could show. He also knew one thing. Gorillas in grief can be deadly. One wrong move could end his life. But when he looked closer, he didn't see beasts. He saw parents. Broken, desperate parents. Elias slowly raised his hands, palms open showing he meant no harm. The father gorilla turned sharply. His chest rumbled with warning. The message was clear. Stay back. But Elias didn't run. He spoke softly, his voice calm and low, the way one might speak to a frightened child. The gorilla could not understand his words, but it could feel his heart. Then Elias did something extraordinary. He knelt down in the mud, lowering his head in respect. He was showing surrender, showing trust, the only language that might reach them. The mother gorilla looked from her baby to the human and back again. Her cries faded into silence. In that quiet, she seemed to make an impossible choice. Very slowly, with trembling hands, she placed the tiny body on the ground near Elias. Baku's massive chest heaved, his eyes burned with pain, but he did not stop her. That small movement, the moment a wild gorilla mother handed her dead child to a human, was something no one had ever seen. It was a moment beyond fear, beyond instinct. It was trust. Elias swallowed hard. He pressed his fingers gently against the baby's chest. No heartbeat. The cold skin told him there was almost no time. He looked once more at the father gorilla towering above him. "Please," he whispered, "let me try." Then he began. His hands moved with precision and care. Rhythmic chest compressions, steady breathing, pure focus. He knew this was dangerous. He knew one sudden sound could end everything. But he kept going. His breath became the baby's breath. His hope became the mother's hope. The father stood behind him, silent but trembling. His deep rumble had changed. It was no longer a threat. It was something else. A sound of waiting, of faith. Rain poured down, washing the mud from the baby's fur. Elias kept pressing, kept breathing. Each second felt like an eternity. He had done this before for people, but never for a gorilla. Never like this. The mother leaned closer, her face only inches away. Her wide, dark eyes searched for any sign. "Come on," Elias murmured. "Come back, little one." He gave one final push, one last breath, and then the forest went completely still. A small cough broke the silence, then another. A weak gasp followed, and the tiny chest began to move. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Kira let out a sharp, piercing cry that rang through the jungle like the call of new life. She gathered Tano into her arms, shaking with relief. The baby sputtered again, his small fingers curling around her fur. Elias felt tears sting his eyes. He had witnessed life itself return. Baku lifted his head toward the breaking sky. A ray of sunlight cut through the clouds, shining on his face. He let out a roar, not of anger, but of victory. It was the sound of a father proclaiming to the heavens that his child lived. The rain slowed. The forest seemed to breathe again. Elias sat back, exhausted, soaked, covered in mud, but smiling through tears. He had done the impossible. Then something even more unbelievable happened. Baku approached him, slowly, carefully. The great gorilla stood tall before the man. Elias did not move. His heart pounded. Baku looked down at him, his dark eyes filled with something ancient, not rage, but gratitude. Then, with a quiet, deliberate motion, the great silverback lowered his head. It was a bow, a silent thank you. The mother held the baby close, rocking him as his breathing steadied. Together, the family turned and began to walk back into the jungle, their dark shapes fading into the green mist. Elias stood alone in the clearing. The rainwater dripped softly from the trees. He looked at his shaking hands, and then at the empty space where they had stood. He felt peace, the kind that only comes when one has witnessed pure love. He knew this moment would stay with him forever. It was not just a rescue. It was proof that compassion is the bridge between all living things. As the last rays of sunlight touched the wet forest floor, Elias whispered to the quiet air, "Thank you." He turned back toward his camp, each step heavy but full of meaning. Somewhere behind him, deep in the trees, he heard the faint, joyful call of a baby gorilla, and he smiled. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.